You know, tucked away in your back, working 24/7 without a single complaint, are two of the most amazing purification systems on the planet. And yeah, I'm talking about your kidneys. In this explainer, we are going on a journey deep inside the human body to really understand the incredible, life-sustaining work they do every single minute of every single day. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to start with a problem that all animals face, waste. Then we'll zoom right into our own filtration system and meet its microscopic workhorse, the nephron. We'll break down the three-step cleaning process, see how our bodies are masters of concentration, and finally, we'll cover the grand exit. Let's get right into it. You know, just by being alive, every single living creature, from a tiny insect to you and me, produces waste. These metabolic byproducts, things like ammonia and urea and different salts, well, they can become super toxic if they start to build up. So every animal has had to figure out a way to, well, take out the biological trash. Okay, so when our bodies break down proteins, the main waste product has nitrogen in it, and that stuff can be dangerous. Nature's come up with three main ways to handle it, and it really all comes down to a trade-off between how toxic it is and how much water you have to lose. You can see here, fish and other aquatic animals, they can just flush it out as highly toxic ammonia because, well, they're surrounded by water. But for land animals like us, water is precious, so we actually spend energy to convert that ammonia into something less toxic, urea, which we can get rid of with way less water. And then you've got birds and reptiles, who take it even a step further, creating uric acid. It's almost like a paste, and it saves the most water of all. It's just a brilliant evolutionary solution, isn't it? So, since we're the kind of animal that makes urea, how exactly do we get it out of our bodies? Well, that brings us to the human solution, our very own, very elegant excretory system. And here's the whole crew. You've got two bean-shaped kidneys that do all the heavy lifting, the filtering. Then you have two ureters that are basically pipelines, a urinary bladder for storage, and the urethra for the final exit. Today, though, we're putting the spotlight right on the star of the show, the kidney itself. Now, if we were to slice a kidney open, we'd see these two main regions. The outer layer is called the cortex, and that inner part is the medulla. And trust me, this division isn't just for looks. It is absolutely crucial for how the kidney works, something we're going to see in just a little bit. All the really important stuff happens right here in these two zones. So, if the kidney is the factory, then what's actually doing the work on the assembly line? Well, that would be this little guy, the nephron. This is the microscopic unit where your blood actually gets purified. And this number, it's just mind-boggling. Each one of your kidneys is packed with about 1 million of these tiny, super intricate filtration units. That means you have 2 million nephrons in total, all working together all at the same time to keep your blood clean. The scale of this biological machinery is just incredible. The nephron's design is brilliant in its simplicity. It all starts with the glomerulus. That's basically a tiny, tangled ball of blood capillaries. This is where the first high-pressure filtering happens. Everything that gets squeezed out of the blood there then goes into this long, winding tube called the renal tubule. And this is where the real magic happens, sorting all the valuable stuff from the actual waste. All right, so we've met the hardware. Now let's get into the software, the three-step process that turns waste from your blood into urine. This is really the heart of what your kidneys do. Get this. Every single day, your kidneys filter about 180 liters of fluid from your blood. That's enough to fill a large bathtub. Think about it this way. Your body is essentially dry cleaning its entire blood supply 60 times a day. That's a level of efficiency no machine we've ever built can even come close to. Okay, so that raises a pretty big question, right? If our kidneys are pushing out 180 liters of fluid, but we only get rid of about 1.5 liters of urine, where in the world does the other 99% of that fluid go? Well, the answer is just pure genius, and it lies in the next. The best way to think about this process is like cleaning out a really messy drawer. Okay, first is filtration. You just dump everything out onto the floor. That's what the glomerulus does. It forces water, salts, glucose, and urea out of the blood. Only the big things, like blood cells, get left behind. Second, reabsorption. This is where you go through the pile and put back everything you actually want to keep. As all that fluid moves through the tubule, your body carefully takes back 99% of the water, all of the glucose, and most of the salts. Finally, secretion. This is like spotting a few last bits of trash on the floor and actively tossing them into the wastebasket. The tubule walls actually pump any remaining waste into the filtrate for removal. So you can just imagine this fluid, the filtrate, on its long journey through that winding tubule we see here.
All along the way, there's this constant give and take. Essential stuff like nutrients, water, and salts are being pulled back into the bloodstream, while specific wastes are getting actively pushed into the tubule. It's this super precise sorting that makes sure we throw out the trash without accidentally losing the treasure.
Okay, now we get to one of the most clever, most elegant mechanisms in all of biology. How is it that our kidneys can produce urine that is way more concentrated than our own blood? This is the secret weapon that allows us to live on land without constantly dehydrating.
The whole process is called the countercurrent mechanism. Now, it sounds really complex, but just think of it like two escalators right next to each other, moving in opposite directions. By having fluids flow in opposite ways in two adjacent tubes, a part of the nephron and its neighboring blood vessel, the kidney can create this incredibly powerful salt gradient. And that saltiness, that's the whole trick.
So why does this salt gradient matter so much? Because where salt goes, water tends to follow. The kidney uses this whole system to make its inner region, the medulla, incredibly salty. We're talking about 4 times saltier than your blood. So for the grand finale, as the soon-to-be urine passes through this super salty zone one last time, water is literally pulled out of it, like a sponge soaking it up. This final squeeze is what lets us save a massive amount of water and produce that concentrated urine. But this whole system isn't just running on autopilot. It's being fine-tuned every second of the day. You can think of it like a smart home for your body. Your brain acts like the thermostat. If you're getting dehydrated, it releases a hormone that tells the kidneys, hey, save more water. The kidney itself has these amazing little sensors that can detect a drop in blood pressure and kick off a response to bring it back up. And even your heart gets in on the action. It can send a signal to the kidneys to lower your blood pressure if it gets too high. It's this constant, delicate conversation between your brain, your heart, and your kidneys that keeps everything in perfect balance. So we've filtered, we've reabsorbed, we've secreted, and we've concentrated. We are finally at the end of the line. So what happens next? And what are the really serious consequences when this amazing system breaks down?
And it's really important to remember that the kidneys don't work in isolation. They might be the star players, but waste removal is a total team sport. Your lungs are constantly breathing out carbon dioxide. Your liver is a master at processing toxins. And even your skin helps out, releasing tiny amounts of waste every time you sweat.
And this is really where the rubber meets the road. This is why it all matters so much. If the kidneys stop doing their job correctly, that urea we talked about starts to build up in the blood. This condition is called uremia, and it is incredibly dangerous. If it's left untreated, it can ultimately lead to complete kidney failure. Thankfully, modern medicine has an incredible solution: hemodialysis. A patient's blood is routed through a machine, an artificial kidney, that uses a special membrane to filter out all those waste products, and then it returns the clean blood right back to the body. This process is a literal lifesaver for thousands upon thousands of people. So from tackling the fundamental problem of metabolic waste to performing this delicate, hormone-controlled balancing act that lets us thrive on land, our kidneys are truly our silent heroes. They perform this massive task day in and day out without us even noticing. So the final question is, now that you know how vital and how complex they are, what will you do to protect them?